Okay, that's supposed to be Henry David Thoreau at Harvard University. Henry David Thoreau at Harvard University in 2024. Hey, he wrote a book in 1845 on Walden Pond, and he went to Harvard. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I'm trying to be the least offensive, least annoying person I can be, which is very hard for me to do. Okay, I'm going to talk today about Henry David Thoreau, one of my heroes. And I showed you that picture of him. He would be turning over in his grave right now if, in my opinion, he would be turning over in his grave if he knew how Harvard University was acting right now. I have a Harvard shirt because I did a talk one time at a Harvard Bloggers Club, and I bought a Harvard shirt, a sweatshirt, and I put a little round thing with a cross to it saying, "Don't go to Harvard." Okay, I highly recommend that you stay away from Harvard, Yale, or any of the, I don't know, the highest units. Stanford, maybe, but the problem is this: is that they've lost the plot. That's traveler terminology. Okay, today I'm going to talk about a term that I learned by accident the other day because I was opening something, and it's called, I'm going to try to make sure I say it correctly. I would say Henry David Thoreau was a biophilic, or biophilia. Biophilic. Biophilic is a word that is a combination of two words. Bio, but let me go into it. Biophilic people are incompatible. They're basically in sync with nature. So, if you read Henry David Thoreau's essay, which he really gave as a speech called "Walking," you would see that he believed in walking like 4 hours a day. As do I, okay? And that's one reason why I'm in the United States right now, is because my morning walk has been disrupted really for like the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm finally trying to address the knee problem. Not that I'm doing that, I'm more likely addressing a heart problem. Okay, but Andy Lee Graham, do not suffer fools well, okay? I do not suffer fools, and I don't think Henry David Thoreau suffered fools either. And I was going to go to the Henry David, the Walden Pond group, and I don't know, it was July 10th, and I joined them, and then I unjoined myself. I said, no, I'm not even slightly like these people. They're basically doing something that I want to encourage them to do it, but I want them to realize that Henry David Thoreau kept things very, very simple. And when you're in a like the Atlantic Magazine point of view or something like this, Atlantic Magazine is to me the opposite of intellectual. Okay, it tries to be intellectual in a virtual signaling, whatever. But Henry David Thoreau, I think, wrote for Atlantic Magazine before they went off the tracks. But either did Henry David Thoreau. He didn't suffer fools. He was wise, but he was wise enough to keep his mouth shut. I am not been wise enough to keep your mouth shut, although I do believe that an overabundance of political correctness is a lack of honesty. I think he wanted to be famous. I don't really want to be famous. And Henry David Thoreau became famous, not in his own lifetime, but he was probably famous within his own little social group. He might have been a nerd. In today's society, I think he would be a pot-smoking tattoo person with at Yale University, okay, Yale or Harvard. Okay, a biophilic person is someone who has a deep love of nature. So Henry David Thoreau definitely had a love of nature. Seeks to connect with and integrate natural elements into their daily life to promote well-being and harmony with the environment. Okay, and this is one reason why I went to Bixler Lake campground and stayed there for almost 2 months here in Indiana. Why did I do this? I wanted to try to integrate myself with nature. Now, that's very difficult in today's society because, the people can't handle the heat, they can't handle the cold, they can't handle the variations of a natural world. Okay, a natural world is very mean. Henry David Thoreau went to the woods to see and he said something to the extent that if it's mean, let it be mean. Okay, I want to know what the world is in an unedited way. Now, chapter 2 of his, I'm not really big on, I really liked his chapter 1, economy, and 99% of the people don't like that chapter at all because it's a very long chapter and it's talking about how he lived and basically his, what I would call the philosophy of the one best decision, the least amount of decisions, okay? I'll think of the right term here. But he basically believed that the simpler you keep it, the better life is. And I do 100%. And when I read this book, when I was age 15, the economy chapter stuck out to me a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm always laughing because I want to be in harmony with the environment. And everything I do is trying to be. Well, I finally realized that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go back to Buster Spade's farm on the Fawn River in Orland, Indiana, and live that life again. When I first started my life and my work life, I was about 10 years old, and I was working on a farm for a man named Buster Spade. His real name is Emery C. Spade. He went to the Methodist Church in Orland, Indiana. We one time, me and Mark set up the bell on it, and everybody was coming and trying to tell us. Everybody in Orland, Indiana, either highly respected Buster Spade or they hated Buster Spade. It's kind of natural when you're a leader because Buster Spade was hated because he had a lot of money. Okay, and he was a big farmer and he did very well and he was extremely savvy, a definite calm person. They called him Buster because I think he was in the Golden Gloves. He was a boxer. And his wife said something to the extent that if you go to that next match, I'm not going to marry you, his future wife. And his wife, he didn't do it because the sake of love. And I've never seen Buster be anything but a good man. I'll never forget he got asked to be a Gideon, which is these guys that go around and put the Bibles. He says he just couldn't do it. He says, I don't understand. It's like I'm going to have to go be a good person. Or I think he felt like he was going to pretend to be a good person. And this is the problem I have with this term, a biophilic person. A biophilic person is in touch with nature. And what you'll see is these guys sitting in, this one guy I was watching, he was talking about designing architecture. I collected a playlist on this, and I'm going to do a deeper dive on it, but he was collecting an idea that, he did skyscrapers. And I think he was really just doing a commercial for his business on a TED Talk. And to me, it was ingenuous. Okay, basically, I'm going to try to explain how in my opinion, a biophilic or a biophilia person would do. This is a term that was coined by somebody. I'm not going to go into that, but you can get on Wikipedia and read all this. And they have different terms for this, and they're going to twist this all the way. But it's basically a person that wants to live in harmony with nature, not somebody that's a tree hugger that's basically virtual signaling. Okay, virtual signaling is when you say all these things like I love dogs and I like the deer and I love the nature and blah, blah, blah. And then you go live in a skyscraper, okay? That's kind of a hypocrite's way of living life. They basically say all the right things. What is it? Thomas Sowell said, he says, today's social graces are somebody that says what makes people feel happy instead of what needs to be done. I'm wearing my little reminder. I bought this thing. I had it made over 37 years ago because when I got sober, I was afraid of one thing. I didn't keep my life in balance. And this is where it says balanced on one side, and then it says an eye for your eye, which means basically there's three things it says on it: balance, engage, and an eye for your eye, which means my betazoid side. My betazoid side is Deanna Troy's, Trekkie's, empath. Is in the Bible they call it discernment. Okay, discernment is the ability to see what is the basic nature of something. Okay, so the biophilic man, Henry David Thoreau, went to the pond on Walden Pond, and he lived there as almost, you would think he was being a hermit. He was not being a hermit. He lived less than a 20-minute walk from the center of Concord, the village where he kind of grew up. So he would walk there every day, and he would talk with the founding fathers of the village. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Henry David Thoreau fit in very well with anybody. He was an iconoclast. Iconoclast is somebody that steadfastly kind of disagrees with the norms or the morals of a society. He pretty much his whole first chapter was pretty much telling anybody that was trying to buy a big house, live in a big car, and live in all the things that Harvard gives you as an attorney or something, you're on the wrong path. So, I mean, he did a never-ending insult of things. I collected over 84 of these little roundhouse, one step away from. See, he wasn't aggressive in the way he wrote. He was more of a melody writer. He wrote in a way that didn't, he could tell you was a jerk and you didn't realize. It's the same thing that Jesus Christ did in the Bible. He told parables so that one person thought it was a compliment and another person realized he was insulting the person. It's the best way to give, in diplomacy world, what you want to do is really say something that 3 days later the person realizes, wait a minute, he was not saying I was a great person. He was telling me what I needed to hear. And that's what Henry David Thoreau did. And I think one of the reasons why he's so famous is because subconsciously people agree with him 100%, but in their actions, they do something totally different. Okay, and a lot of these people, like if they don't have the money, they're not going to be they're not going to go live in a one-room place. Okay, they're not. And I absolutely love to live in 10 by 10 rooms. 10 by 15 rooms. I'm actually working on these tiny homes because they make me feel best. Why? An overabundance of things and stuff. Is George Carlin's stuff. Everybody's in love with stuff, and to me, a person that's a biophilic person realizes that the stuff of like a skyscraper is the opposite of being in touch with nature. That's a monument to the opposite of nature. Okay, nature is a compatibility. And a biophilic person, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to keep trying to explain this. Yeah, a biophilic person is someone who has a deep love for nature. So that's Henry David Thoreau. And I don't enjoy his writing because to me, all he wants to do is never-endingly talk about the beauty of nature, which is fine, but to me it was a little bit of an unbalanced point of view. He didn't give an equal portion. Our life is really divided into many sections, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and he was more or less a writer, but he also wanted to be famous. Okay, I truly believe he had a great desire to be famous. But but a balanced person is able to say the good and bad about anything. I often offend people because I point out some negative about a positive situation. And if you don't include the negatives along with the positives in something, you're not giving a balanced discussion. Okay, all you're doing is being a biased person that basically believes in a hokey pokey, wonderful world where everything is rose-colored glasses and whatever. And this is often the climate change people. I'm 100% in favor of the climate change people doing what they're doing, but I don't believe in climate change the way they're depicting it, though. It's not a dystopian end of the world. It's just basically a good idea. I mean, if everybody gives up plastic bags and we give up polluting the air, then you're going to be more in harmony living with nature instead of decorating your world with nature. People want to decorate their world instead of being part of nature. Nature is brutal, okay? I worked on a farm for 7 or 8 summers of my life with Buster Spade, and I was constantly, for about 3 to 4 months a year, living in nature. We were working, baling hay. There wasn't a moment that I wasn't touching, or I was in the sun. I was lifting bales of hay. We baled hay commercially and took it to the Brighton mushroom farm where they ground it up into a humus type thing and grew their mushrooms in it. I actually worked there a couple times. I worked one time at the Brighton mushroom farm, really like working in a cave. But they harvest these things. The temperature grew in kind of a 52 degrees temperature. It's like a spring temperature for mushrooms, right? And then we'd kind of be cold, and we'd have this little headlight on our hats. And but I never had a worry about money. Now, I do accept that 99% of people are so afraid of being poor, okay, that they can't actually be intellectual. Okay, an intellectual person has a balance between, they see the need to have money and also the need to be, simple. Simplicity, when you have more than you need to exist, you're not really living like Michael Crichton said. Subsistence farming is 100% employment. What people do is they have I think it was Mahatma Gandhi and Henry David Thoreau basically would talk about you're rich by the things you don't need. Okay, if you need all these things, these are emotional. Like to have a car, a big house, and all these things is a way to fortify your emotional status that you are okay. Okay, when they're talking about meeting, when a man is talking about meeting a woman or a woman meeting a man, there's an exchange of benefits, and there's a thing called demonstration of higher value. And one of the reasons why I probably have never got married is because I was never willing to demonstrate to somebody that I was going to give them all their money things. I was only going to give them the emotional things. I always would focus on giving people what they emotionally need, spiritually need, mentally need. I don't care about money. Okay, and right now I'm as poor as I've ever been in my whole life. Okay, I got $450 a month in Social Security, but I do have full coverage insurance, and I paid it into the government, so I deserve this. But I can live anywhere on the planet very comfortably, except in my own country, because the United States is it's all about the money. Follow the money. It's a great country, but it's all about the money. Okay, so a biophilic person, what is this? They biologically in love with natural, integrated with culture. What does that mean? That doesn't mean you go live in a tent so that you're doing and don't talk to people. That is the opposite of being balanced. A balanced person has an equal portion of mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, nature. But anybody that has ever got very, very stressed out, what do? They go to nature. They walk around. To me, Henry David Thoreau was quite an angry man. Okay, and he kept walking and walking because he was so angry. I don't consider him a very content person. He was an extremely angry man. Okay, and he was always trying to come in contact with nature because he needed to walk 4 hours a day so that he didn't have to think about humanity. Because humanity and mankind and the way the world is, especially if you went to Harvard, even though it was 1845, there was only like 200 students there. And they hadn't started getting these endowment things of $1 billion from these dingalings. And they were more of a university to become a better person, I think. But Henry David Thoreau was a good man, okay? But sometimes being a good man means you go for a walk in nature when you're really angry at mankind, okay? And I believe that anytime that you go walk in nature, you're going to find that your stress just keeps slowly diminishing. Very difficult to work on a farm for all day long, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day without being a pretty happy person, okay? Because you're always just part of nature, okay? And you're creating. See, when you work on a farm, what you're doing is you're creating something that's needed, okay? Don't get me wrong. The farmers right now are becoming big business guys, and they're sort of delusional that they don't realize that a lot of the foods that they're creating, the Monsanto pesticide, herbicides, and whatever, even the GMO, organic to me is just a business marketing plan, okay? Anybody can go, if you really want to go organic, what you should do is grow your own vegetables. Anything in a plastic bag is the opposite of being thing. I do see that right now. My sisters keep telling me, Andy, you don't like dogs. No, I keep correcting them. I don't like owners of dogs. The biggest problem I have is I had a dog that was my best friend. We went hunting with my BB gun. We went into the woods. We went on the Fawn River. We stopped at a thing. And I never had this dog on a leash. To me, I get very upset when I see dogs on leash. It took me a long time to identify why I was angry, especially when you got 3 of the dogs. That to me is that's slavery, okay? And that's the desire to dominate something. To me, a dog deserves to be free as much as I deserve to be free. And if you can't allow the dog to be free, then you need to realize that what you really want is somebody to obey. And a lot of people are unlovable. And so they can be loved by a dog when they're really quite unlovable. To be a lovable person. I pointed out yesterday at a family reunion, kind of a group thing on the lake, that I said, both these dogs are coming over and sitting by me. Think about it. They always come and sitting by me. I was on Lake Athlon, and this dog would come up and just crawl under my arm because, in a way, dogs and children love me. Now, don't get me wrong. Nobody lets me get near in the United States. People are so fear-based that they're afraid of everything. Okay, but a biophilic person is basically in touch with nature, and they're not afraid of the world. But most dogs are slaves. Biophilic is a term derived from 2 Greek words, bio meaning life and philia meaning love, or an affinity for it. It describes the innate human tendency to seek connection with nature and other forms of life. That's Henry David Thoreau. I'm going to read it again. Biophilic is a term derived from 2 Greek words. Definitely, Henry David Thoreau would like 2 Greek words. He is always putting these. He's a word dropper, right? Bio meaning life and philia meaning love or affinity for it. It describes the innate human tendency to seek connection with nature. To seek a connection with nature. That is not just having a dog. Okay, that's actually walking in the park, basically living in nature, trying to get away from the things and the stuff. George Carlin does it so well when he has that comedy skit about stuff. People surround themselves with stuff that have nothing to do with nature. That is not in balance. That's not in harmony. Okay, but you can live. When people get really wealthy, what's the first thing they do? They move outside the city into a natural place. Why? Because they finally realize that they made it. They feel safe. Now they go live where they should be living. You don't sacrifice this along the way, and that's the problem I have with people is they spend their whole life sacrificing their desire to live naturally, for money, and to want money at the expense of nature is the opposite of a biophilic person. Biophilic design incorporates natural elements into living spaces. Okay, this is just crap. They're always going to add this to architectural stuff and housing to act like if you put a bunch of plants in your house, you're a biophilic person. I think that's just virtual signaling. Yes, it's better than nothing, but it's not in balance with nature. I ask ChatGPT, where I love ChatGPT because it's really smarter than people. Where would a biophilic person live? Location. A biophilic person would likely choose to live in a rural or semi-rural area with abundant natural surroundings such as forests, lakes, or mountains. They would also might choose a sustainable eco-village or a small town that emphasizes green living. Emphasizing green living to me is, again, virtual signaling. You can always be incompatible with nature, and you don't have to go join a commune to do that. But the bigger the city, the bigger the problems. I'm going to bring in some of the sayings I've said all along. Home design. Their home would be designed with natural materials like wood, stone, and clay. Large windows would provide plenty of natural light and offer a view of surrounding landscapes. The house might have a green roof or solar panels and a garden where they grow their own food. Basically, it's a back-to-nature type house. How would a biophilic person dress? Clothing, natural. A biophilic person, when anybody's talking about that house, that tiny home, off-grid home that I'm trying to design is exactly that. It's off the grid. It's basically I was going to go build him in the woods. There's a lot of woods in Indiana where you can just put up a house in the middle of the woods. They're not being used. They're basically for mushroom hunting and hunting. Maybe a lot of they're on the water and they're not very tillable. They're not easy to farm because they're normally too wet and hard. The actual process right now of clearing woods is not done very much. Okay, because it's too expensive with the bulldozers. Clothing material. A biophilic person would choose clothing made from natural, sustainable materials like organic cotton, linen, hemp, bamboo, and wool. They would avoid synthetic fibers that are harmful to the environment. I'm in the process right now. I changed my chain to a leather piece. And I'm in the process of going, like right now I have on long underwear that's 100% cotton below this thing. I have a Carhartt shirt on, but I bought 8 shirts that I had made out of 100% cotton, and I made them in Guatemala. Then I have 8 shirts that are 100% cotton. And you're going to see that I'm going to go completely almost white, okay? And if I'm wearing like my sweatpants I have on right now, I have Indura. That's the brand name. Hard to find, hard to buy 100% cotton. They lie. I mean, these people lie. And but I've got 8 T-shirts and I got 8 shirts and I got. I'm going to have the least amount of dye. Okay, the dye is the problem. But I got shorts and I'm doing everything I can. I don't know when I did it, since I cut my hair, which a long time ago, probably 6-8 months ago, I haven't had any chemicals put on my body unless absolutely necessary. Like they put this cardiac catheterization into my arm the other day, and they put all these chemicals on there to clean it. They're trying to get me to take all sorts of chemicals like Lipitor. They're trying to get me to take this Lipitor for my cholesterol, and I'm not taking it. I did get 2 stents in my heart, and they're unnatural, right? But they expanded an 85% but I'm taking the Plavix, which is to stop the clotting. But back to the causation, a person that's a biophilic person tries to see what the simplest thing. Henry David Thoreau simplified it. What is causing my heart problem? I got a wake-up call, and I have this aneurysm in my chest. It's a saccular calcified aneurysm. It's about 2 inches across, 5 centimeters across. They always want to tell you in metric. Nobody even understands these things. I think they do it on purpose. The jargon of the medical industry is horrible. But the goal here is I haven't put any chemicals on my body. The only chemical I put on my thing since my father died has been shampoo. I also stopped brushing my teeth with toothpaste. I've realized that the mineralization of the teeth happens through the saliva, and really what you really need to do is have one of those toothpicks. Now, those things are plastic, right? But they say that you actually take in a credit card size piece of plastic weekly into your body. It's poisoning us. The whole world is being poisoned. But because I don't go along with these dogs, people think that I'm not in touch with things. The dogs are meant to be there. A dog is a wolf, okay? And you got to understand that when you have your wolf and you're being very aggressive with me, I can be extremely aggressive back. Okay, I am not. I'm imbalanced. Okay, an animal is an animal. Okay, a lot of these Thoreau lovers act like Henry David Thoreau didn't have anything. He literally tells in the book that you should take your sons and teach them how to hunt and things like that. He just wasn't that aggressive type person. He liked to eat fish, but they're postulating and putting things into him that he wasn't. Okay, it's quite humorous to me. I have trouble talking to anybody that's a Henry David Thoreau lover because all they read is the wrong side of the page. They read one side of the page and out of bounds. So they take out of it what they want and they ignore the rest and don't postulate in it. He had a very disdain for fools. Okay, style. Okay, the style there would be simple, comfortable, functional with a preferred earth tones and colors found in nature. So I got 100% cotton. I got one less decision. I'm going to have all white clothing, okay? And I have now, why do I like white clothing? I like to know when my clothing are dirty. Why do I like to know that? Because to me, nature is not dirty, okay? Nature is clean. I mean, if you go out into nature, it's a clean place, okay? Yeah, but it's something to reduce the carbon footprint. Footwear, they would prefer durable, eco-friendly shoes, possibly made from recycled material or natural rubber, designed for outdoor activity like hiking or walking in nature. I like to wear sandals because those are the actual. See if I can. I wear socks with my sandals now because the socks keep the rubber away from me. Rubber is not. There's natural rubbers, but most of this rubber is just a form of plastic, and you don't want this touching your body. To me, a biophilic person would walk around barefoot most of the time. So I'm designing these tiny homes, and it's going to be so much that I'm actually thinking about being a real annoying person and making it live. I sleep on the floor. Maybe I could show that to you. I'm sleeping over there on the floor. Why? Because the bed isn't natural. Actually, a pillow has got to be the most unnatural thing there is. A diet for a biophilic person. A biophilic person would follow a diet that is sustainable. That's just hokey terms. Sustainable doesn't mean crap. Don't use that term. Has a low environmental impact. Okay. We're working with nature. We're not working against nature. They're saying these terms. Basically, I would like to say sustainable is something in balance. That if I take something from nature, I put it back to nature. Okay. Basically, they're talking about tree huggers. Tree huggers are not balanced people. They are mentally, emotionally, physically, virtual signaling. You do have these hippy dippies, like into the wild type things that go off the thing. Very few people can stay balanced. Henry David Thoreau was balanced. These other people, he didn't try to create a world where he was asked to join two or three of these communes, because at the time there was a lot of kind of communes where basically we're trying to live in touch with nature, kind of like what they call permaculture now. And permaculture is again a lot of virtual signaling. It's very hard to say that you could join a group of people that would ever be in touch with nature, because they're not purists. It always comes down to it's like minimalist. A minimalist is a person that tells you he's a minimalist. Why? I'm not a minimalist. I'm a guy that has everything possible in a 10 by 10 room or a 10 by 12 room. My tiny homes I would build would be 20 by 20, then would have a porch all the way around, and I would want to put them in the cluster of trees. One reason why I have no value for houses, and I've sold I've been in 10,000 homes because I used to sell real estate. And I don't want to sell real estate anymore because I think people are going the wrong way. They keep getting bigger and bigger, as if bigger makes any sense. It's the opposite of being intellectual. The least amount of things you have to think about, the happier you are. The more things you have to think about, the more you're confused. Chaos is caused by that cluster of amorphic, confused chaos of so many things, right? I believe that everybody should have just what they need to survive. Okay? Not much more. When you have more, all you do, Aldous Huxley had this thing where he believed that we all have this eidetic memory, this photographic memory, that we actually have a history of our whole life in our brain. And to me, the simplicity, because one of the things that really annoys me about the United States is I can't stop looking at all the stuff. Very difficult to get into a room. That's why I love a single room. I don't have to think. But if you don't have anything in your brain, you want all that stuff around. You want loud music on. You want a bunch of things surrounding you, so that you can think about that, and you don't actually have any original thoughts. You're basically consumed by the things around you. But food choices. The diet would be plant-based, include sustainable sources and meat. They would minify. He's talking about it would be whole food. If you're going to eat a chicken, it looks like a chicken. If you're eating celery, it looks like celery. If you're eating processed meat, doesn't look like the food it is, right? And whole grain. So a lot of people that know me know that like right now, I went specifically. I'm not eating cheese. I'm not eating milk. I'm not eating grains. I mean, the grain does not look like the grain, right? They ground it up. They processed it. Meal preparation. Meals would be prepared from scratch using fresh, whole ingredients. Okay. Is anybody in touch with nature? Nah. I go into a restaurant right now. You cannot go into a restaurant and buy food. The only thing I can buy at a restaurant that's even close to being natural is a hamburger. I can say, give me a hamburger and they're probably going to cook it in the own grease of the hamburger. Everything else is cooked in vegetable oils, and they want to serve them on plastic plates with plastic glasses, and everybody wants to go carry. The worst possible thing is getting a cup of coffee at the drive-thru in a plastic thing. I understand you're in a hurry, but the natural is being calm enough to basically enjoy the situation. A biophilic person integrates their love for nature into every aspect of their life. Okay, every aspect of their life. Okay. I also did a fun thing where I said, ChatGPT, give me 100 different things that would be the characteristics of a biophilic person. Nature immersion, simplicity in living, self-reliance, spiritual connection, observing natural phenomena, solitude in nature, integration with natural cycles, connection to a place, learning from nature, sustainable living. Okay, you can go on and on and on. Are you in touch with nature? Have you touched nature today? Do you spend 85% of your time walking on concrete? When's the last time you walked barefoot in the grass? In these tiny homes, I would like to put an earthing thing. An earthing thing is the idea that your body's electrical. The sodium, the magnesium, the calcium, and the potassium are the creator of the electrical system of the body. And to balance this out, you need to pretty much walk in grass barefoot. So otherwise, the body's constantly at a kind of in the wrong sort of charging. Earthing is the term that you'd search for, but they have earthing mats, and they have ways to do it. Now, got to be real careful. Too much earthing and you can get shocked. Okay, I was in Burkina Faso in this all clay building that these virtual signaling NGOs had created. I was getting electrocuted just touching my computer. There's a balance on electricity. Okay, I don't want people to give up electricity. I don't want them to give up. Henry David Thoreau said something to the fact that we paid so much for this technology to become where we are. Don't deny yourself the use of the tools of nature. Okay, there's tools that we have developed. A tool is something that is done to make us more productive. Okay. And we are meant to be a combination of, we got a large brain so that we can kind of harness nature. And we should harness the qualities of nature that good. But living in a skyscraper, designing skyscrapers, to me is the opposite of natural. Okay, to try to be my tiny home idea, what I ideally would do is build a tiny home in a cluster of woods. All over the Indiana, we got these clusters of woods. And there, you could go figure a place in between certain size trees and just cut down the minimum amount of trees and plop down it'd be about a 40 by 40 spot, okay, flat, okay, and then you'd have a one-story house and everything in the thing. Now, there's problems with living in nature because without massive amounts of air conditioning and furnaces and whatever, you're going to have, a lot of humidity and condensation. To me, living in a big house in the middle of an addition, all platted out, that's $300,000, is the worst possible decision you can make. Okay, living in the house I'm in right now is in the middle of 5 acres in the middle of the woods. We have trouble even having internet, okay, because it's not on you kind of know that you're back in nature when the internet's not working, okay. When the internet's working too good, you're basically so immersed into the capitalistic money for everything. Make money. You're only a good person if you make money. The valuable person is a person that's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I'm always laughing when you got these really fat people. They are not in a biophilic person. They're not in touch with nature. They're out of balance. Any kind of, balance is a little bit of this. Like dysfunctional behavior is, like a controlling person and not controlling. It's in the middle. Everything's in the middle. Okay, that's a balanced person. Everything is in the middle. You're not always talking about tree hugging. You're not saying, because what most of the climate change people are doing, they're zealots. They're getting in their private jets to fly to one of these conferences to try to declare that everybody else should do something different than them. I'm trying to be in the best possible physical shape. And I don't put any chemicals in my body, and I'm actually, this morning I put castor oil all around my skin. And it's a good way to control your hair. I realized that I can have better hair when I put a bunch of oil in on my skin. I don't put any chemicals though anything that goes on my skin anymore is something I can eat. Okay, so my tiny home project's the idea that we'd plop these things down there, and I really am against pillows, and I'm against technically I'm against beds. I really think we should almost always live on the floor, and I think we should have wood shelving. I'll never forget this off-grid guy. He was standing next to this chipboard wood, acting like he was in touch with nature. And I go, chipboard's made with glue. I mean, this is the least thing. I mean, you're basically when you're surrounded by chipboard, what it is that you're in a chemical induced. It's like it's a chemical building. Okay. I don't know what to say, guys. I do think we're at the stage where mentally, emotionally, and physically people are so polluted. Their brains are so polluted with plastics. Their bodies are so polluted with chemicals. They're taking all these drugs from these doctors. The doctors are not encouraging the body to restore itself. They're basically thinking they're God and they are going to give you the solution. The body is a natural healing thing. It will heal itself. Hormesis is the word you want to learn mostly. But I'm Andy Lee Graham. I'm here, and you're not. Why not? The thing I hate the most about the United States is cars. They really make me focus on machines when I want to be focused on walking. Yes, I'm having trouble walking, and I appreciate the benefits of a doctor that can do it. I don't appreciate the fact that doctors don't have any desire to explain what they're doing to the people they're doing, and they're not capable of being articulate enough to explain it in the words that the layman does. ChatGPT can do this. I copy and paste, put in there and say, explain this in words that I can understand. I'm hoping that's clear, and hide in plain sight. That's what I want the biophilic people to do, is hide in plain sight. Don't go being a preacher where you're going around making everybody feel guilty for doing it. I was kind of upset. One of my sisters yesterday was at the thing, and she says, where is your recycling container? That assumption, instead of saying, where do you want me to put these plastic bottles, she said, as if everybody should have recycling. Recycling's, for the most part, a virtual signaling thing, and it's not really that easy to do. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. Become a Patreon. A Patreon is a person that pays me like $5 a month as a patriot to support my videos, and that allows you access to do it. 25 allows you to actually call me up once in a while. When you start doing the $100 one a month, then I'm going to probably visit with you. I'll come visit you. But the $5 one, we have these chat things going on the major topics. They're kind of fun. But I really get tired of the dog-loving, virtual signaling people that are spend their whole. The only reason why they got a dog is because they have no contact with nature. They can't even walk in nature. They're way too fat. Or these, it's ridiculous what's happening in the world today. They love dogs more than they love people. And this is the opposite of what God or any religion would ever want you to do. We're in harmony with the dogs. We're not in love with the dogs. We're not having our intimacy with dogs. We're having our intimacy with people. If you hate people, you really hate yourself. I'm Andy Lee Graham. I love people, especially ones without a dog.